Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cheap Heat TV. I am the intro master. I am Scott E. Morgan. I'm going to mess this up tonight, I guarantee it. But to join me first is my best friend, my personal insurance salesman, the Prince of Pep, Upbeat Xanders.
I haven't finished the classes yet, dude.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be on the DL.
No,
So no, I appreciate it. I'm working on getting my insurance license because that's what people want to buy insurance from, is somebody who's upbeat and happy about stuff. So cat's out of the bag, everybody. I'm going taking insurance classes. I've got some people in the business that is going to help me out, and so thanks, man. I appreciate that. Do you want to continue? I'm trying to be I'm trying to be a little bit better of a friend here at helping you recover from that rough opening. So
it was rough. It was rough.
You keep going, man. Just keep it going.
No, man. Well, okay. Let's bring on our third party for the night. The king of all wrestling media, the man and manager, Gene Jackson.
Man and manager.
All right, look at that. I mean, he totally redeemed himself by getting my nickname right, because Xanders can never get that right.
I was really trying to put over the insurance thing, and I messed up.
Is the rumors true, Xanders, that Whitey Jenkins is taking those insurance classes with you, and y'all are going to be partnering up on a? Or is that on the DL?
Whitey Z is not going to happen as a business model. He sent me some ideas. It seems that him and Smokey are becoming more and more friends. Smokey's been in the editing bay, and he's opening, we're trying to get that cheap heat here at the studio. Smokey's trying to get things a little bit more organized and some new content out. So I saw a sneak peek of. Okay, I'm sorry, Smokey. I'll let it die. We won't talk about it tonight.
Well, he kind of winced over here when you said the cat's out of the bag. He doesn't like that reference.
I didn't mean to pun. I didn't mean that. That's a rough start for all of us, man. Gene, how's it going, man?
Oh, pretty good. I made the long journey to EPW last night, but had a good time. I made it home, I was home by 12:30, so by standards of that trip, that was pretty darn early. I was pretty happy with that, honestly. So
yeah, you did. So you made that by yourself, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean,
did you re-listen to the podcast?
What's that?
Did you re-listen to the podcast? Some of the podcasts? Yeah. No. Did you listen to ZIPs? Try to get her numbers up. You did hear it the first time. Why did you?
I don't need to hear it. I don't need to hear it again. Now tonight's podcast, I may listen to again.
That's true. That's true.
This is one of our most requested guests. I mean, people are excited. I mean,
it's been pretty much me and you. That's been the request. That's been all there. Scott's been indifferent about it.
Dude.
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to hype this up. I've been online trying to hype this up, making it sound like this was a big deal.
That's true.
So even if people were like, I'm not sure who this guy is, I'm like, I got to see this at Steve Pleasing. And
that's true.
Who's Steve Pleasing? I don't know, but everybody else has been asking for it. It must be going to be awesome. And then Xander's like, it's just me and you, really. I mean, even Smokey was kind of bummed out about it. Like, what are you doing?
Let me redeem myself. If you're listening to this currently live, it's going to be one of the most fun interviews. It's going to be good stories, and Steve's going to make me feel like an absolute ass through most of it.
And
so
it'll be Views with Ken just shared this podcast, and he wouldn't just share any old bullshit. So.
That's true. He does it normally. So
he's never shared this podcast before. So.
Thanks, kid.
Thanks, Ken.
Scott, are you gonna? So wait, are we gonna try to introduce Mako? Or are we just gonna talk about the elephant in the room and why he's not here for?
Hey, I'm sitting right here. You don't have to freaking call me the elephant in the room. I mean,
well, that's
pretty disrespectful.
I do apologize. That's not what I meant by that.
By the way, we'll get to that, I guess.
Wow.
Okay. Well, let the elephant in the room explain the elephant in the room. Mako's not here. He has other pressing issues going on that he's taking care of, as he did last week and the week before that.
Yeah. So we'll just recap, because we do, this is a family around here. We talk about everybody's fortunes and misfortunes, just like we briefly spoke about me going on my vacation. Mako went and had a great victory over a Memphis veteran, and kicked out.
We can't talk about that. It's a spoiler.
Okay, well we would talk about it more if Mako was here, but copyright issues and other things like that, which we're getting flagged for a lot. So thanks a lot,
kicking our ass with
YouTube.
these copyright things.
Yeah, we can't have any fun around here, but
Shane Mako, I can attest that Shane Mako was at EPW last night. I managed him.
He is
had
alive.
a good time. He's alive. He will be here next week for an interview that we'll talk about at the end of tonight's show. We'll tell you who that guest is going to be, and that Mako has guaranteed us that he will be here for that interview next week.
He got a big catch off. Big catch.
He reeled in a big one. So, but we're not worried about that right now. Right now, we've got the man himself waiting in the wings, and you're rambling on.
I was gonna say, is Scott? Wait, so is Scott gonna Scott wants to introduce him?
Well, of
I can see it in
course,
his eyes.
he's the intro man. But see, he kind of shot himself in the foot because in the intro, when he referred to himself as the master of the intro, he almost willed for it to go sideways. But now he's about to redeem himself and pull off a flawless introduction of our guest.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, our special guest tonight, who's going to give us the amount of numbers that we've been dreaming of, is the people-pleasing, say my name, Steve Pleasing.
Damn.
Hosting from his bedside manor.
Hey, y'all, wait.
Look at this setup here.
This is where the magic happens.
I was going to say, tell Ken to suck it. Is Ken still ring announce at Rocket City?
Ken who?
Kenneth.
Never heard of the guy.
Yes, you have.
Not superstar Kenneth, the referee.
Not the guy. The guy that ring announced at the bleeping show you work on, Steve. Please.
Yes, he does. He's a very good ring announcer. I
Thank
like
you.
that dude.
Help the show here, buddy.
Hey, where'd your map go? Didn't you used to have a map up?
Can we like space things out? Or are you gonna blow your material all in 30 seconds?
We'll go all in.
In proximity there, he's used to blowing. Never mind.
Never mind. I was gonna say, welcome to the show. This has been your long-awaited arrival, man.
I'm excited. I've been excited all day. It's been like a sundial. I tried to lay down earlier.
Did you? You just have? So you moved your computer closer to the bed, or?
Well, I just lay and kind of glance over.
Okay, just hoping we would send you a link. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Man. I've been waiting all day.
We've been busy. I know you've been trying to get on even before we went on hiatus, and we were a popular show that meant something. But
exactly, I'm a big fan of the show. I wonder what happened to y'all. I've been calling this stuff every week. I woke up the other night in a cold sweat, and my chick was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I just hope Mako's okay."
Well, he is. We're happy to announce he is okay, man. I do appreciate you and your concerns. I know you messaged me privately, and we have a little thread going back and forth where we talk about angles and gimmicks on Cheap Heat, because you're not our super fan. You're family with it, but you're like the super family that we've always wanted. We appreciate you, buddy.
I appreciate it.
And now that we know you have the sweet setup, man, you're going to become a regular. I mean,
you're screwed now.
Get you a segment on here.
Hell yeah! I've got a list of
No, hang on. No, Steve.
Names and
so, Steve, this is the unfortunate thing about Smokey and me and the Cheap Heat family. You do have to keep it kind of. We'll go after hours. Sometimes might be okay. Thank you, Smokey. Thank you for backing me up on that one and throwing up the Xander signal on. Thank you. Yeah, there he is now. He's yelling at me, but no, we do appreciate you being on here. Hey, man, if this goes well and you don't make this last 20 minutes and then we're sitting here with our bleep in our hands, then
if we're screwed like this, then
this is on you. So you've been spouting,
How fun was that night, Charles? Do you even remember that night?
Man, it was about as bad as all the rest of the times I had it. What was that place called? VCW? Yeah, that about as bad as all the rest of the times I had there, including our match.
He had to sit on a rubber donut for like a week and a half.
That's not true. That's fake news. Yeah, that's false.
There was a victory that night, just not in the ring.
A rubber donut gimmick.
So never mind. I was gonna say something about somebody's V, but never mind. So yeah, no, that wasn't fun, Steve. I do appreciate it, but we do thank you for coming on the show tonight. Gee, do you have anything? I mean, you've been wanting
to get this ball rolling. Somebody sent me something,
yes.
and I read this, and I thought, this could be true. I mean, this may just be one of those funny ha-ha memes, but again, this might be true. Is this Steve Pleasing went to a feminist rally and came back with his shirt ironed and a sandwich. Is that
a sandwich? I did, but the sandwich wasn't put together very well. I was upset with the sandwich quality. Wasn't the best sandwich.
And we don't want you to go into detail of how you handle that, because I'm sure that there was.
That'll be something that'll get you muted. Just let you know how you handle, just like your list of females that like to roam around that are promiscuous. Yeah, promiscuous. It's a good word. Bam.
Okay,
But,
so let me ask another one before Xanders gets rolling here in a minute, because I know once Xanders asks you a couple things, then this is just going to be off to the races. So, you know, I'm a big fan of comedy. I've done a little stand-up comedy. My friend Whitey Jenkins does it regularly now.
Yeah.
He's got like 30 or 40 minutes of an act he does now. So who are some of the funniest people in the dressing room that you've known over the years in wrestling?
Man, there's a bunch of them, but I don't know. I got a sick sense of humor, so I don't know. The dressing room's kind of toned down. When I was coming in, it was a little more wild. You might have a fist fight, or you might have somebody get throwed out. But probably the funniest guy, or it was probably TC Carnage. Do you guys remember TC Carnage from back in the day?
I don't.
I was probably in Mississippi during his time.
We're not helpful. I'm sorry.
He come up with me and Adam Roberts and Mike Posey, and he was always funny. Do you guys know who Mike Posey is? Master P.
Yeah,
And
piece of crap that didn't show up to our podcast. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm aware.
We
of
don't mention his
P-Dog.
name here anymore.
He gave y'all the Mako. Oh no!
I'm glad it has a name to it though.
Yeah,
Yes,
he Mako'd out on us.
But I remember one time we were in the dressing room and Mike Posey opened his bag up, and we were getting, this is for Will Owens. I think we were in Coleman somewhere, and Mike Posey opened his bag up, and Brad was like, "Bro, what's that smell?" And we was like, "I don't know." And I was like, "But it stinks. It just smelled rotten, you know, like something dying." And Posey was sitting there looking around. He was like, "I don't know. Might be my knee pad." He was like, "You didn't wash your knee pads?" He was like, "You can wash them." And he walked straight over there and grabbed his knee pads, opened the back door, and threw them out the door. It was just shit like that. We were at a little podunk place one time in Faultville. You guys probably don't remember when they had wrestling in Faultville. And we were going to wrestle, and he was telling the referee the finish, and he was like, "And I'm going to put my feet on the ropes. 1, 2, 3." And the rep was like, "But if I see you, I'll knock your feet down. Y'all just go back to it." He was like, "No, you're not going to see it because I'm telling you now." And the referee was like, "I'm just saying if I happen to see it." And he just reached up and slapped the shit out of the referee. And he was like, "Don't see it." And I was just like, "Oh, wow." But he was a wild character. I used to love messing around with him and running the roads.
Yeah. So, and P-Dog's one of those guys who, the story's funnier because once you talk to P-Dog, and he'll be on the podcast eventually, I promise. Once you really meet P-Dog, he is somebody who is just, he has that dry, just sense of existence. I don't even know if he understands humor all the time.
No, when we were doing all that, I wasn't there personally, but they had said they was at a nightclub or something. So some girl was like, "Tell your friend I want to talk to him." And the guy went over there and told Posey, he was like, "Hey man, this chick want to talk to you." And Posey was like, "I don't have nothing to say."
and that's who Posey is. Once you meet him, he's a super nice guy. He's got I don't know if he has a sense of humor, but everything I've ever dealt with that guy has been unbelievably nice. But he's just that very, that quick.
But most of go ahead. I'm sorry.
Explain what's going on in this picture right here.
I was learning how to do headlocks.
Who is that? That's Luther, isn't it?
Luther X. Luther X was showing me how to do headlocks. This is actually, you should have took the next picture because he had it on the wrong side, and that he was showing me how I do it wrong all the time. He was like, "You're like this, and you should be like this," and I was like, "Bro, I'm trying to get dressed."
He is. He always seemed kind of to be a dominant person that just come through and correct you in that.
He's like, "Look here, man."
I never understood all of his vibrato, but he definitely had it in that locker room.
He's a good guy.
Now, speaking of funny people in the locker room, that picture was sent to me by Jeremy Flint. Do you have any fun Jeremy Flint stories you might could share?
Just the show Jeremy Flint ran that we were out, and Xander's about got handled by a referee, like an old referee, like 1920s referee.
He had all of his teeth. Okay.
He was mad. He couldn't. Oh my God! I was like, "What did you do to him, Xanders?" And he was like, "I don't know. I don't know what I said."
I knew what I said. I did.
So what did you say?
What did you say?
I was being a smart ass to him, and he asked for the finish. I was like, "It's gonna be a 3 count." Well, yeah, but what's the 3 count? The part where his back's on the bat, 1, 2, 3. It should be
but you didn't know he was gonna go that big with it
I
because
did
you
not.
was surprised. It started over here, and he come back over there with us and sat down like he didn't know what was going on. We heard all the commotion. Was like, "What the fuck?" And he was like, "I think that referee's mad at me."
Well, he stopped the meeting.
Mad at you.
He stopped the meeting. Like, so whenever Flint went to tell everyone, like, "Hey, it's good being here," the old classic hip hip hooray thing, and we were having a good time, and then like he's like, "Oh, don't cuss," and they're, "Oh, everybody f bombs," and that classic crap. And then he was like, "If anybody has anything else to say, let me know, and then we'll go through it." And this dude stood up and just started screaming at me.
It was long. He was like, "I've been in this business since 1922, and never have I been more disrespected."
I couldn't understand where all of his I didn't understand where all that anger came from, but it came out that night, man. Apparently, he had been disrespected before, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Was my dumb ass.
Well, about the third match in, he was making a 3 count, and his teeth went flying across the ring. They said. He went scrambling to get it. He didn't care about the count no more. He just threw all professionalism out the window and went after them chompers. And I don't respect that. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
That wasn't the finish, Steve.
Yeah. If I'd have told him my finish, he would have known. If they would have did a better job explaining the finish, his teeth wouldn't have fallen out. Shame on those guys.
Disrespectful ass Xanders. Well, I'm glad to see you learned your lesson and wasn't disrespectful to anyone again after that. So
I became more upbeat because of that situation. That was one of those times where I decided to turn it around.
He actually got more pleasant. Look at his haircut. That's a pleasant haircut, man.
That's right. Is that what you got?
Who made you get that haircut, Sanders?
It's the easiest haircut because I've had long hair before.
What did you do when you asked for a haircut like that? Did you just tell him to give you the Amber Alert?
He said, "Give me the Ellen DeGeneres."
I'm done with it. I'm just giving you the Ellen. That's
fine.
I'm
playing a lesbian in a Lifetime movie next week.
I've got a facial hair. I guess some of them do. I guess they can have facial hair. So maybe. I hope so. I hope I make that kind of thing.
$900 hair in the body of a Guatemalan hooker.
So you're a fan of comedy. Who's somebody you enjoy in comedy that's like that you kind of like? Because so have you done stand-up comedy before?
Man, I've tried. It didn't go so well. It was pretty awful. I thought it was like they was like, yeah, you just do what you want. And I was like, so I can just say whatever I want. And they were like, yeah. And so I was like, all right, well that's cool. And then I walk out there, right? And like there's kids, like lots of kids, like small children. And I was like, but that was the only material I had. So I was just committed. I was like, yeah. And I think I told a bag joke like the first one. I was like, I let a guy blow me the other day, but I made him stop when I realized he was a faggot. And they booed me. They just booed me. I ended up just looking at I ended up just
you right
looking at
now
the host.
watching
I
the
just
show.
I just looked at the host, and he was like, "Yeah, that's cute."
Yeah, you deserve all of that.
It was
No
horrible. It
problem.
wasn't very
You
good.
learned your lessons, huh? So have you thought about it anymore? Because
Yes, I want to go bomb again.
Well, hey, I know a guy who
Yeah,
can get you a spot
Waddy
doing
Jenkins
just
could
that.
definitely. You and
Waddy
Waddy
Jenkins can
could
invite
be
you
a.
along to the old comedy club.
I would
That's one of the
definitely
biggest
be
misconceptions
interested.
people have about stand-up is like, I'm funny. I'll just go up there and be funny, and it's like, no, that doesn't
You have to
work.
be able
And
to
also
read the
that
room.
whole
And that-
knowing the room because
And that time goes slower than jail time. It's so
Yes.
slow.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's
Steve,
I was like, "Is it ever gonna be over?" And he was like, "You were up there like 40 seconds, bro."
That's one joke.
The joke you said it right. You think it was just the delivery or the timing on it? You think you could redo that?
I think
No.
the joke is poor.
No.
No, I don't think you're supposed to say those things anymore.
Yeah. You wanted okay, so just real quick, so just to let y'all a little behind the scenes into the show, Gene might be able to see this. How much that joke is not allowed into it. We do apologize to our audience. Twitch has just hit us with a copyright strike.
yeah, Twitch just kicked us off.
Hey, and that's bullshit because I wrote that joke.
Well, it wasn't a copyright.
It wasn't a
strike.
copyright strike.
They just kicked us. They just killed our Twitch stream. But
Yeah,
Oh
so-
man.
I don't
yeah,
know. that
we
anybody
were doing
watches
great
it, so
numbers
it's
there.
fine.
I'll have to create a new one. I do apologize to our fans who have took that offensively. That is Steve's language. If you want his address, I'm sure he will gladly privately give it to you, and you can come do whatever you feel like you need to try to do.
I was just trying to show y'all what the worst joke ever sounds like. And
It was. It really
If,
was.
if you go with Whitey down at the comedy club, the owner of that club is an openly gay man, so don't bring that joke with you.
Hang on, just one
You
more
might want to
time.
write some new material for that one.
Yeah,
Just let
that
you know.
was not the correct joke. Different time, Steve. We said it a different time. One more chance. Just a solid thing of shame. There it is. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
What we'll have to do is ZIP to get you through on the other side of this one, man. This is going to have to be one of those moments we learned from as a group.
I'm sorry.
You're not sorry.
I mean, I feel bad, but
You don't feel bad.
I mean, I do. I feel a little bad.
Twitch was not helping us. Yes, it does look like a security video. The
Matthew's
pre-show was definitely a lot of just asking us what kind of horrible crap goes on down in his terrible dungeon that is a bedroom. So we still haven't got a great answer. Is there windows in there?
I feel like footage from that camera is going to be aired in court at some point.
That time Steve bullied somebody. Have you ever been known as a bully? Because you do speak controversial. Like me and you have had conversations where like this. Have you ever been seen as like? Because I know people label people as stuff all the time when that's not who you are. But have you ever been put in that situation where you have been labeled as something?
I don't think I come off as a bully, but I'm definitely gonna say whatever I think, man. If it's funny, it's funny.
Yeah.
If it's not, I'm not trying to offend you. Usually, I'm trying to get a laugh. I'm not trying to get everybody mad or worked up, you know. But no, I don't necessarily try to bully nobody.
No, I don't. I know you've never been a bully, but has anybody ever like came up to you and been like, "Hey, man," has anybody ever been that guy to you, like they did to me?
Yes, a couple. There's a wrestler that's running around now. I'm not going to say his name because the last thing I said didn't work out too well either.
Yeah, the last time you decided.
This
never
dude-
good to try to be funny or
This
mean at the same
this
time.
dude was gaining weight and he was getting fat, and I started calling him fat. You know, I was like, fat dudes like us, and this and you know, I'd cut little jokes and stuff. And he had another guy come to me, and he was like, "Hey, man, maybe you could stop saying this about homeboy because, you know, he's in his feelings about it. And it would probably help if you didn't do it." And I was like, "Did that dude ask you to come to me and say that?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I told him to go back and tell that dude to stop being fat. And then I'd stop telling him he was fat. I just,
Hey, also now the whole Facebook universe, Twitter, everyone's coming in. We have people commenting in. Timothy Steeples, fan of the show, big fan of the show, said that that's a lie. He bullies me all the time.
I've never bullied him. That's not true. He bullies me.
He bullies you. So do you want to lay background on who that is? Because he's
Yeah, that's my tag team partner.
that's his tag team partner. Okay,
My
good.
number one bang. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he's commenting. I'm sure he's texting you right now, calling you a dumbass.
Now you say that, but I heard through the grapevine that your favorite person in the world is what was it? Hold on, in my notes. A guy named Will Owens.
I love Will Owens. He's my
Okay.
favorite person in the whole wide world. You know?
Do
Oh,
we
I got
have-
a joke. Do y'all want to hear the Will Owens joke?
Do you
Yes,
want to?
I
Okay,
do.
hang on. Do we want to say the Will Owens?
Are we
joke?
gonna get kicked off of anything
No,
else?
I don't care at this point. This will go on at this point.
All right.
If this is what's happening.
This is the
But-
famous.
Okay, let me set this up. After we'll do the Will Owens joke, and then we're gonna go to commercial break. On the backside of it, we'll see.
You guys got
commercials.
commercials? Are they gonna send us blue chews?
Yeah.
No, we hadn't got there yet, but
We keep
and there's a
losing
Will Owen, there's a
sponsors.
quick Will Owen story I want to tell when we come back from the break that made
Yes.
Will Owen.
Man, I got so many Will Owens stories.
Okay, do we want to wait on the backside of this? We can go to commercial early, Gene, and then talk about Will Owens on the back, because I know this is a funny because I've heard plenty of stories about Will Owens. Can we do commercial first? How does that sound, to you?
man?
Let's. Okay, that's fine with me. Let's go to a commercial real quick. 3 minutes. Everybody, go get you a drink. Go sit down. We'll be back on the backside of this with Steve Pleasing.
Are you looking to have a good time? Well, head on down to Happy Hour Comedy Club and Restaurant in Anniston, Alabama. Shoot you some pool, play you some darts, or head on over to the bar and get you a cold beer or one of them fancy cocktail drinks. They got all that. You hungry? Get you one of the best pizzas in Anniston or anything else off the menu. They got burgers, tacos, chicken wings, anything you want. Every Thursday night, they got open mic comedy and karaoke, and live comedy every Friday and Saturday night with some of the top comedians from across the United States. Go to happyhourcomedyclub.com for more information and tell them Whitey Jenkins sent you.
Hey guys, this is Wolfie D from PG-13. Check out my podcast, Live and in Color with Wolfie D, every Monday at noon. We're talking Memphis, we're talking ECW, WCW, WWF, everywhere that I've been. We even have some great guests, some Hall of Famers on the show with us. Every Monday at noon, Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
You like barbecue? Well, of course you do, unless you're some kind of weirdo or wasn't raised right. So if you want to get some of the best barbecue around, check out P3 Barbecue. Our buddy David Estes does it up right. He'll be glad to cater your next event or just send you some of his award-winning sauce right there to your own doorstep. Go over and check them out on the Facebooks at facebook.com/P3 Barbecue or give old David a call at 901-679-3452 and tell him Whitey Jenkins sent you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school, but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Dangerous Dan Colley, the Professor Jimmy Street, and the Plastic Sheik Jared are the undisputed six-man tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This trio does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Get ready to get inspired. It's Xander's Inspirational Podcast, the brand new podcast with Upbeat Xanders, as he has one-on-one podcast sessions that both inspire and inform. Check it out as Xanders has a one-on-one interview with some of your favorite people in and out of the professional wrestling business. Give it a listen on CheapHeatTVLive.com. It's the Old School Dives Pro Wrestling Podcast with Shane Knowles and Gene Jackson. Every episode, they will take a deep dive into old school professional wrestling. Pro wrestlers, events, all sorts of great topics will be covered every 2 weeks right here on Old School Dives. You can find it at CheapHeatTVLive.com and at YouTube.com/CheapHeatTV. It's Old School Dives with Shane Knowles and Gene Jackson.
All right, guys, welcome back to Cheap Heat TV. Just going to cover some things real quick before we get into this Will Owens segment, because this will at least be fun. Facebook comments. Yes, we're going to get to Will Owens stories. Commercials, you could either get more of them in between time or get one long 3-minute one. So far, Twitch just kicked us off, and we're going to talk about that real quick. Steve, this has been a place from the since I started doing this, and I know Gene's been probably the same way. If we lose every one of our places, we're not going to hinder somebody from saying exactly whatever joke they want to say or anything like that. We'll lose everything. We don't care. We've proven that time and time again. So don't think that you've offended us with that joke. The Twitch can kiss my ass.
We will burn this thing to the ground.
To the floor.
To be offensive.
Floor. So where is Mako? Gary, you're late to the show. We have no idea. He reported to Gene that he is okay.
He was at EPW last night. I can report that. Other than that, I don't know.
Yes. Hang on. Here we go. There's the Jeremy Flint that we all know and love. Steve, can you read these to us? You want to read that? You want to read that for us? By the way, I'm all for if the comments want to start roasting Steve Pleasing back.
Is that his picture right there? Is that Flint's Facebook picture?
Yes, it is.
Why does he look like a security guard that's walking that lady to her car?
Okay, so anyways, so just say what he said. Do you want to read it? Do you want to have Scott read it? How do you want to play this? Because I'll have somebody read these, but we do have for the audio.
Steve looks like a middle-aged gamer that gets pissed off at kids for killing him in Fortnite. Well, look, man, nobody likes getting killed in Fortnite, bro. Come on.
If this show could just turn into Steve and Flint roasting each other back and forth,
if I could turn this show into just the guest and the comment section roasting each other back and forth,
we'll call this Cheap Heat roast battle in this.
I'm all for it. So speaking of roast battle, do you want to start with a joke or do you want to end with the joke after the Will Owens stories? Because people might not know who Will Owens is. If you want to give it some context first.
Oh, you want me to tell it? Will Owens.
Gene, you go first. Gene, let Gene tell a story.
If I do it, then I'm going to be feel bad for telling the joke after.
Exactly.
Well,
No, you won't. Hold on.
So Will Owens, longtime Alabama professional wrestler, promoter, ring renter. He wears many hats in Alabama. I've known him for quite a while. I've worked a lot of shows with him. I've managed him. I've all kinds of things. But my favorite Will Owens moment where he won me over forever, and I'll fist fight anybody that says Will Owens is not the man. On one of Kevin Brandon's shows, he had this guy as a ring announcer. Now, my understanding is this guy apparently does some show of his own now, All-Star Wrestling or some shit somewhere in Alabama, whatever. Another one of these random-ass Alabama wrestling shows. But anyways, big old tall, pretty large man, and he's a ring announcer, and he's wearing a damn sweater vest.
Is it cornbread?
And he's one of these guys who's wanting to get himself over. So it's a tag team match, and it's I think this one was Joe Hogan and Wendell Cooley against Will Owens and the Super Destroyer, some random ass guy in a mask. And the previous show, Will and Jimmy Golden lost a tag team match to Bullet Bob Armstrong and Steve Armstrong and Steve Armstrong's kid, whatever. Anyway, they lost a match. Well, Will Owens, and I'm sure Steve can attest to this, Will Owens' gimmick forever and ever and ever is always he'll get out there and cut a 20-minute promo about how he is undefeated in whatever year it is. I have not been pinned or defeated throughout the year of And so he's
long promo, like a 20-minute spot, bro.
And so he's cutting this long promo, and Wendell Cooley's hair is getting grayer than it was when he come out to Hank Williams Jr. And he's cutting this promo, and he's going on and on about having not been defeated. Well, the fans all know that 2 months ago we saw him lose to Bob Armstrong and them. But this fucking ring announcer's got to get his shit in. And so as soon as Will gets to cutting the promo, he's like, "Hey, Will, we were here at the last show, and we saw you get beat by Bullet Bob Armstrong." Will Owens hauls off and slaps the shit out of that ring announcer. I'm on commentary with comedian Tim Statham, and I'm laughing. I'm like, you fucking asshole. That's what you get. I'm like, yes. And then Tim's like, well, that's what you get coming out there trying to ring announce in a sweater vest anyway, you dipshit.
So was that cornbread, by the way? Is that cornbread?
No.
Okay.
I have no clue what that guy's name is, but
I love Will Owens. He got me my start. He trained me up. Him and Cecil Pleasing. And I remember one time at UCW, it was Will's show, and he was running it, and he was going to wrestle Cecil in a dog collar match or bull match or whatever. They was going to be tied up, and in the middle of this rope had this cowbell, like this little dinky cowbell, you know, and they were in the back, and Will was like, let's cut this cowbell off. They're strapping it to the wrist, you know, and trying to see how it's going to work. And he says, let's cut this cowbell off. And Cecil says, no, why? And he says, cuz you're going to hit me in the head with it. And Cecil says, no, I'm not going to do that. And he's like, yes, you are. And Cecil's back there. He's like, I promise you will. Not going to hit you with that cowbell. They go out and they ain't rang the bell. And this dude's done doubled that thing up and whipping Will with his cowbells out in the audience. It's done popped off. Will was mad.
Was that some of the like? So that was some of your grow up time. Do you miss that? I mean, is that something you miss the most about wrestling?
Yes, I loved it back then. We had such a good time. I remember the great poster wars of 2000. We would ride around and tear down Mickey's posters, and Mickey would ride around and tear down ours. And me and Cecil and Will were riding around one night, and we spot them. Travis is out there tearing down our posters, you know, and so we follow him. We follow him all over Coleman. He drives to one end, he drives to the other, and then he just drives to his building. And he pulls up, and Will just pulls up at the driveway. And Cecil, you know, Cecil's kind of about it. He was real crazy back then.
Yeah.
And he was like, let's pull up there so we can whoop their ass. And Will was like, I don't want to fight them. And Cecil was fucking mad. He was like, you done had us out here for 3 hours following these people.
Yeah, Cecil, I met him a few times, and he's happily, I think, out of the business. But he's one of those no nonsense, man. If he hit you, it was like getting hit with an actual tree limb. It hurt all the way through. It was Scott Morgan, a foot taller, was Cecil Pleasing.
And that's how he did stuff. It was fun.
Mickey Henry and his ransom note looking ass posters.
So no, okay, Gene. So I'm actually working. I'm working on getting Mickey Henry on for a ZIP. Where Gene won't be there.
If you don't come, we're killing the midget.
All I ask, if you get him on, please let me make the poster for it.
No, absolutely not.
Man, hey, the Hammer's the man, son. Y'all should have him on the show and talk to the Hammer.
I've been trying. You give him a personal message because I know how he loves pleasing.
You know what? And I just thought of this the first time I met Upbeat Xanders. He had long hair. He looked like Jericho if Jericho didn't work out. And I remember I went to Mickey.
Like a young Jericho if he hung out with old Jericho.
I went to Mickey Henry's, and he was back there calling his match, and he was like, I'm Charles Xanders, and we shook hands and stuff. And then he, like an hour or two later, he'd come out from wrestling, and he was like, somebody stole my wallet. And I was like, damn Mickey's.
Yeah, that was some many Mickey a days. I got my wallet stolen. Somebody broke into my car. I'm not going to say it was a wrestler, but it was probably a wrestler. But yeah, Mickey,
90% chance.
Yeah, 90. Will anybody read that for me? I'm sorry.
Jeremy Flint says Mickey can look at Xander's and Scott's cameras at the same time on different phones.
No,
I love him.
If that was Smokey, don't put that kind of crap up there.
Hey, speaking of Flint and Will Owens, he had a Will Owens story up here. It says there was a show in which someone put Icy Hot on his gooch when he was about to walk out to the ring, and the whole match he kept yelling, "I'm on fire." So, I've heard that story before.
By the way, Steve, I've heard you've done Icy Hot gimmicks with multiple people. By the way, is that you that person?
I used to do the Tiger Bomb. I would I would put Tiger Bomb up my nose, you know, and it'd help me breathe. And then I thought, you know, if I can't handle myself in there and the dude gets to shooting on me or whatever, I should put some Tiger Bomb in my mustache. And so I would load up my mustache with Tiger Bomb. And my idea was if you shot on me, I was going to put the Tiger Bomb in your eye. I never put no Tiger Bomb in nobody's eye, though.
Did you?
I never used it. Only my
say, did anybody ever get kind of sick of your shenanigans enough to where you had to calm them down? I mean, what's a good one from that?
Because
Because you are all about shenanigans, Steve. Please.
I like to think of it as more intense. No, I've never had nobody get mad.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear that because I know
and
people will.
For people watching who aren't familiar with Will Owens, here's a picture. There's a picture of Will Owens right
My
there.
boy.
That's
my guy right there. I love Will.
Do you want to tell the joke now? Do you have
Oh,
do you have
man.
another, or do you have another? Are you even gonna lay off the joke and now we're gonna have?
No,
to,
he's telling the joke. You can't tease the joke. Go through a commercial break and then not tell it.
I mean, that was a good Will Owens story. That was wholesome and fun. Do you have any more other Cecil pleasing? Because Cecil, like him and Mike were the man. Like those guys were awesome.
I remember one time, and I was green. Like I might have had like 3 or 4 matches. And Cecil had this big. He was selling cars, and he was driving this big long Lincoln. This is back in the day, son. It's like 99, 2000, and we had went and wrestled a show for Jack Lord up around Scottsboro or somewhere, and we were coming home, and I wrestled Cecil, and I wore a hood gimmick or whatever, and I remember I went to do a drop toe hold, and it was, I mean, I just went out on my own. I was like, now I'm going to drop toe hold him, so I start trying to, and of course he don't go because he didn't call it.
Yeah,
and he's just looking at me. He's just looking at me down on my legs, laying on the mat, trying to drop toe hold him. And he's just looking at me, and he reached down there and slapped the shit out of me. And then when we got in the car and was coming home, he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I just thought it'd be funny if I just did some stuff." And he was like, "You don't do nothing I don't call." He was like, "You do what I tell you to do," basically. And he was like, "I don't know why you're doing that silly shit anyway." And I was like, "Well, I want to do comedy stuff." And he was like, "Well, we don't do comedy stuff. We do wrestling." And I was like, "Well, you do what you want to do, and I'll do what I want to do." And we're like on a highway, like 431, and he just locks this car up, like stops it. He's like, "Get out of the car. I'm going to beat your ass." And I was like, "Man, please get in this car and drive us home." I was like, "I don't want to get out of this car."
Because how big Cecil? Cecil's a shoot like 6'3". I mean, he's a big dude. Like, he's a bigger guy, isn't he? Because I remember Cecil being big. I could be.
He was strong, man. He was so tough.
He was a beast. I think I've been in the ring with him once.
I was like, "All right, I'll wrestle. I won't do nothing else funny. Just drive us home, please."
I remember being around to the Will Owens joke here in a minute. I feel like this is a good time as any to ask this question because I know there's some people watching this that's probably wondering. Okay, so we've got Cecil pleasing, Michael pleasing, Steve pleasing, and in the comments tonight we've got Smooth pleasing, who's Matthew Glover, kayfabe. So the pleasings are kind of like the Dudleys of Alabama or something.
We're a white trash group of guys.
Yeah. So tell us how the pleasings came about. How y'all come upon that name and how that all came together.
I think it started with Mike, and then there was BB, and they tagged for a little while, and then I think Cecil come along. Cecil trained Will. And then Will managed them for a little while, and then it was me, and then Smooth. I think that's how it went.
They legit, like Mike would tell me stories, and there's a podcast out there where I was not knowing what I was doing on podcast we did with Mike, and he would tell us stories about going to down South Mississippi and working for like 3 and 4 days at a time, and then coming home and doing all that stuff. So Mike traveled harder than anyone else, and I mean. He had a huge influence in Alabama, so I know Mike was a pretty influential dude around here.
And then for a little while, I think they were Will and Cecil Owens. Yeah. I think they were the Owens brothers somewhere, and then they were the Bama boys a couple places.
So comedy, you said you wanted to do comedy wrestling. Do you find that really difficult to get people to kind of really commit to? Because you can have a fun comedy match if you can get somebody to commit to it, but man, it takes a hard commitment too.
No, the comedy, if you set out to do a comedy match, it just seems too set up and too cheesy. I think the funniest thing is when you just play off something that happened that's genuinely funny. You just kind of go off the hip and you kind of do your own thing or whatever. I think those are the most truest moments. When you try to force feed it, and they'll think this is hilarious. They never think it's hilarious.
No, I think you can make comedy spots work in certain matches, but setting out to have a comedy match, I think you're doomed to fail. And like you said, it depends on the crowd. I've seen Jeremy Flint and Dick Justice and Insane Lane tried to have a laid out comedy match on a show, and I think down there in Weegufka or whatever it was. And Dick Justice is hilarious. Jeremy Flint's hilarious. Lane, is a deathmatch wrestler, but he's a funny guy. And it was one of the most painful things I've ever seen. Like, the crowd just did not go for hardly any of it, and it is brutal to watch. And I was on commentary, and it was hard to call because you just had to ignore the fact that the fans were just sitting there like, "What the hell is happening right now? Like, what are they doing?" And
yeah, they don't know how to react. They're like, "What?" That's how they feel. They're like, "What are they doing?"
So you used to, I know you used to ride with Will whenever he toted the ring. Gene did mention he carried the ring around for most of Alabama. Was there ever like a purgatory place for you to go and be like, this is absolute hell for me to be in carrying around?
No, everywhere you go with Will sucks because you start trying to put up the ring and he disappears. He has like he's a ring supervisor. Like, bro, this is your shit. Why are you not helping me?
You're the one making money, man. Come on.
But he would always buy you lunch and stuff, so it was always pretty cool. I got to meet some pretty cool people and go to some pretty cool places. It was always pretty fun.
Who was somebody that you met that was like, oh, sweet? After meeting them, you're like, that's pretty cool. I'm glad I got to meet him.
Oh, Buff Bagwell, without doubt.
Yeah, we had a run-in with Buff, but like everybody's had a run-in with Buff Bagwell at this point in pro wrestling, but we had one at Peach State that was pretty horrific. Did you have any fun stories with him?
No, I never. I met him a couple of times and I heard all the stories, but no, I never witnessed nothing. Now Cecil told me a story one time, and he was double shooting for Will and I think I was on one of these shows, but him and Will were double shooting. And they were going to Mickey's, and Will had booked Buff Bagwell and Lex Luger. And Cecil wrestled them in both places. And when they showed up in Huntsville, he said, like, Lex Luger was fucked up, like on pills, just messed up. And he said, that Buff Bagwell told him, he was like, what's wrong with him? Buff Bagwell was like, oh, he's jet lagged. He was like, I remember thinking from Georgia to Coleman, he's jet lagged. And anyway, they did the spot or whatever, and they jumped in the car and they went down to Mickey's. And he said he wrestled him again. And he said, when I showed up, it was like the Twilight Zone. He said Buff was fucked up. And Lex was like, he's jet lagged. We've been on a jet all week, yada, yada, yada. Then another time a guy told me he was wrestling at Mickey's. And this is my funniest. I think it's hilarious. But he said Lex was back there and he's wearing like a hockey jersey, right? And he was like, yo, Lex, you're next or whatever. And he was like, oh, shit, I got to get ready. And he goes in his bag and takes the hockey jersey off. Put on another hockey jersey and went to the ring and wrestled. I'm just like, what?
Oh, is that ever something that's like? Do you still see that in the day? Like whenever you go to wrestling things, just odd crap like that. I mean, I know it's not super. I know all wrestlers.
Do any of you guys remember Big Easy?
No.
There was a wrestler used to run around with us. His name was Big Easy. He was real tall. He was like 6'7" or so. He's a bouncer at the club where Will worked. And he started wrestling a little bit, and he went out there and just had this awful, just the shits match. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's like 7 foot. He couldn't move. The coolest thing about him was walking to the ring. Yeah. And he was in the back, and I mean, this dude's like breaking down in front of us. He's crying real tears. You know, the dressing room is an emotional place.
Yeah.
He's crying
judgmental. It's real judgmental.
He's crying real tears, crocodile tears and stuff. And Will Owens is getting ready to go out, and he's spraying himself. You ever watched him get ready to go out? It's just absolute madness because he just runs around. He's spraying himself with water. And he was like, I need a towel. And that dude had put the towel on his head, and he just has his head down, and he's sobbing to himself. And Will Ellis reaches over, grabs the towel off this bro's head, and marches to the ring like his music's playing. And the dude was like, nobody respects him. I was like, damn, nobody respects him. I was like, this is horrible.
Oh my god!
But I just remember shit like that was always the funniest to me. You know, you can't do this and not have a good time or see some. We wrestle, bro. You done met some weird cats. I don't care where you wrestle at. You done met some weird ass dudes.
Yeah, me and you spoke many a times and just hung out and had those private conversations where we talk about the weird people that just we run across, and you can't help it. It's just what this business is you run across odd individuals that you think you're the oddest person walking around.
You're not. You're not. Go in a wrestling. Sometimes when I feel low in life, like I'm just the worst, I'll make it to a wrestling show and I'm in the dressing room and I see somebody and I'm like, I'm fucking better than that guy. You know what I mean? I'm way better than that guy. Shit's gonna turn around.
It can't be all bad.
Speaking of that, and that Lex Luger story reminded me of this. Larry Sweeney told the story of Jake the Snake Roberts shows up to a show. He comes in the dressing room and he just strips just bare ass naked and walks around the dressing room just completely naked for like an hour and a half. And they're like, Jake, you're next. He goes over, puts on the exact same shit that he took off when he got there, and goes to the ring and wrestles in that. Like, he just walked around naked for an hour and a half for no reason at all.
That was Scott's first appearance into a wrestling locker room. I don't know if we've ever told the story on what Scott's first experience with a superstar like Buff Bagwell. Buff Bagwell came running in from a double shot and dropped trowel right in front of Scott and the friend of the show, Aiden Andrews, and they got every bit of it right in front of their face. Like, it was not even like, oh, well, there it is.
Yeah, my very first show. I hadn't wrestled yet. Like,
he was just doing a run-in. He was doing a run-in. And he got to see some good old-fashioned Buff Bagwell doll.
And then what was it? The following time he was there, he was out in the ring, and he came back to the back. And he was like, who moved my fucking hat box? Went ate shit. Somebody moved his hat box. And I was like, yeah, man. And then, of course, I got the pleasure to meet Scott Steiner. And when he came, everybody was like, he's got that whole locker room side to himself. No one go over there. No one fuck with him. Don't talk to him, whatever. So everybody was petrified. I ended up walking over to him and I was like, hey, man, my name's Scott, dude.
Yeah, that was a rough time. That was a real rough time. It was that was Mickey Henry, though. That was also at the great JC Arena. It was mentioned in chat earlier by Smooth Pleasing, the JC Arena. Yeah, we've had everybody. Well, I don't guess Gene's had much of an experience at the JC Arena, but
hey, Buff Bagwell was a regular on that show for a while.
He was.
He was there like every week.
Every week, somebody would take a picture of the Polaroid pictures with him. The same people would take that picture with him in the ring.
Damn
week.
right.
$5. Boom. They hit him with it every time. It was a hell of a time in wrestling. Yeah, Scott Steiner was kind of a dick. He was kind of mean
to you, Anders.
No, he never even spoke to me. He never. I'm serious to God, we never even. Yeah, he was.
Do you love to answer this? If you had a different haircut, do you think he would have spoken to you?
You think if I had my mouth?
Be honest with us.
Scott Steiner was ever going, Jericho looks like shit these days.
Yeah.
He's like Jericho. That Canadian boy's really let himself go.
No,
he moved to Alabama and really got on meth, apparently.
Yeah, and this was the time frame where he was not like he was still in good shape, but he wasn't like
he had the chest tattoo. He had just got the chest tattoo,
and he was like trying to throw the Steiner screwdriver in a match. Everybody was like, what?
We'll tease that.
Y'all are lucky he even called that. If I was Scott Steiner, I'd just be like, you right now. This is what we're doing, kid.
So we'll have it's the friend of the show, Charles Skillman, who's actually was in the match with him, and Steiner hit him with like a top rope over the head suplex, and like Steve, you know Mickey's ring. Scott definitely knows Mickey's ring. Gene, I'm sure you've heard about Mickey's ring.
I wrestled in Mickey's ring. Me and Neil Taylor had a match in Boaz on Mickey Henry's show, and I was managed by Travis. That's a story for another day.
But he hit this to poor Charlie, and I was like, dude, your hips are going to explode out of your ass and take.
Hey, Mickey's ring. At one time, it was legend to have. I don't know if it did or not. I went and looked after it happened to me, and looked at the ring, and it did, like, I don't know if it's concave or convex, but it had a hump going upward in the middle, and they said there was a picnic table under the ring holding it up, and I didn't know about it, and I was out there, and Cecil was like, do that leg drop, and I was doing the Alabama Jam off the top, and I hit that leg drop, man, and it felt like my spine come through my throat. I was just like, oh, it hurt so bad. But yeah, you'd be better off getting suplexed on the interstate than back then. It was horrible.
He would come out before the match, and it was so funny because, I mean, we had 4 or 5 of us skinny trainees, and he was like, we got to move the ring. And we would try to move the ring, and he was such a massive dude. He would just walk up next to it, and he's such a bear of a man, just move it by himself. He would just move the entire ring, and he would want to move it so it'd be center so everybody could see. He was so particular with his stuff. I mean, he held couches off the side of the road in the back for the boys to sit on, but that ring had to be in this spot so all the fans could see it.
You're not supposed to sit on those couches, bro.
I never do.
And on that note, we're out of time.
Well, I was gonna say, we'll end the show. I'm normally kind of out there with ending the show on how I'm going to do it there. It's my creative my creative piece. But we'll let Steve end the show with a joke.
All right.
Before that, promote all of our social media stuff, Gene. I know Smokey will absolutely beat the crap out of us if we do not promote this stuff. There's all of our social media, ladies and gentlemen.
But you can find it all at CheapHeatTVLive.com.
Real quick, I just got a notification that we will be back on Twitch in 3 days. So we've only been suspended from Twitch for 3 days. So we'll be back next Sunday. We're announcing this. We're announcing Case Swiss will be on it.
Next Sunday night, former EPW champion Case Swiss will be our guest. Make sure you join us live for that one. Put your questions in the chat.
Yeah.
And
what else?
One more from Matthew Glover. Mickey had a piss barrel in the good old days.
That's
a whole other story for another podcast.
Steve, once again, we'll have a reunion one day, maybe, because we could fit like 16 people up on here, and it'll be the death of me. But I will try to conduct Mickey Henry stories for everybody to come on here and do a Mickey Henry story, because there is
the roast of Mickey.
I love him. I love Mickey Henry.
I do too. I was about to say I love Mickey. I wish he'd come on the podcast. Scott, not so much. Gene, Gene doesn't say
me and the 2 bald gentlemen will lay out on that one if you want us to.
Okay,
but I do want to make the poster for it.
I guarantee they want me to lay out on that one too.
Yeah, I was about to say, Scott.
If you don't come, we're gonna kill the little person. Be there Friday night.
So I love his Facebook Live. Anyway, so Steve, real quick, man, thank you for coming on the podcast.
I appreciate y'all, and I love the show. I'm not plugging nothing. Don't look me up. Don't find me. Don't send me nothing.
He's sorry for copyright.
But if you was to end up in Hazel Green one day at the building
behind the gym, I will. Yeah, you can catch me at the Rocket City Championship show.
Okay,
it's the best show.
So, and we've tried this
in the South, best in the South. That's right.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, so you want the Will Owens joke?
So can we get? I want 2 things out of you before you go, because we've still got. I've got plenty of time. I don't care about this. This is.
I don't. You wrap it up.
Okay, so I want a promo. I want you to do a promo for Cheap Heat for this week, and I want you to tell the Will Owens joke, whichever order you want to do it in. I don't care.
All right, I'll do the promo.
All right, cool.
This is Steve Pleasing from the Superstars. If you're not watching Cheap Heat Radio, something's wrong with you. Say my name. All right, and then the Will Owens joke is this. Will Owens and a Catholic priest are walking down the street, and they see a little kid kicking a can. And the Catholic priest leans over to Will, and he says, "Hey, Will, let's fuck that little kid." And Will says, "Out of what?"